Hey guys, it is 420 somewhere, and today we're going to talk about Delta-8 THC and Dr. Oz of all people. So Delta-8 THC, as a bit of a review on the whole thing, is a part of the cannabis plant that was legalized in the Farm Bill of 2018. And the reason it was legalized is because it was not Delta-9 THC. And Delta-9 THC is basically the only thing that has been exempt from the Farm Bill, because that's the one, at the time, they thought that was the one psychoactive part of the plant. And so anything psychoactive would fall under the Controlled Substance Act, and then be at Schedule 1 and not be able to be consumed. Then came the understanding that Delta-8 THC also was psychoactive, however, it wasn't accounted for in the Farm Bill, and so therefore it was legal from this Farm Bill, and now across the nation there are a bunch of Delta-8 hemp products that will get you high completely. It's a lesser high, but it's still high. And then following that were a bunch of bans in states. So now we're at about 24 states that are either banning or regulating or under review. Basically, Delta-8 has become a part of this limbo stage where it's in some places it's banned, in some places it's not. It swept the nation at first, and now it's kind of in this weird period. And naturally what happens is one of these cases go up to a court system, and the judicial system will basically judge whether or not this is legal to ban Delta-8. And that's exactly what happened. The Ninth Circuit has ruled that Delta-8 is legal because of the Farm Bill, and it's on the legislation, it's on the legislative branch to enact any more laws or any amendments to that Farm Bill to make it illegal. But for now, it's a loophole, and it's on the legislators, it's on the politicians, the senators, who didn't account for it in the first place. And I guess the lesson to be learned from this is when you're making a bill, you have to really kind of understand what you're talking about when you make that bill, because now they have Delta-8 that is out there and confusing because of all the different regulations in each state. It's all over the place. So this is kind of a win for people who do enjoy Delta-8, who especially sell Delta-8. So if you're in a place like Texas or Oklahoma or New Mexico or wherever where there is Delta-8 being sold and allowed, then you're in luck for at least a while before the legislative branch either creates an amendment or just doesn't give a crap, because we're already on the path to marijuana legalization in some time this decade, whenever that happens. Okay, next up we have a kind of an interesting story. So when we think about the election in November, this upcoming election 2022, it's almost seemingly for sure that the Republicans are going to completely obliterate the Democrats in most cases. However, there's one exception, and I think that might be in Pennsylvania. We had just had the primary election happen there. Dr. Oz and another guy, I don't even know the guy's name, was fighting for the GOP candidacy for the Senate. And Dr. Oz and this other guy, they both got it very, very close. Dr. Oz, I think, is the front runner because that's Trump's pick. They're gonna have a runoff election to see who actually gets it, but it's looking like Dr. Oz is going to get it. And then on the Democrat side, we have John Fetterman, who is this strange looking guy. He almost looks like an actor because of his weird looks. Like, he's huge. He's like freaking 6'8" or whatever. And he kind of has the feeling of a cyclops in a good way. He completely obliterated his opponent, his Democratic opponent. He won the candidacy by like 59%, and then the other guy got 25%. So he's clearly the front runner in Democrats. He has a lot of support around him because he's got this grassroots nature to him. He kind of evokes the same sensation, the same excitement as someone like Bernie Sanders, because he's not really a career politician. He's just kind of a guy who cares about things, and people love that. So it's him versus Dr. Oz probably in November, and their two views of marijuana is extremely different, polar opposites. Dr. Oz says that marijuana makes people lazy, and Pennsylvania in particular cannot afford to have people outside of the workplace or leaving the workplace because of getting high. Here's a clip in which he talks about it.
What is your stance on that, by the way, marijuana? You know, there are not enough Pennsylvanians to work in Pennsylvania. So giving them pot so they stay home is not, I don't think, an ideal move. I also don't want to breed addiction to marijuana. It's not physical addiction, it's emotional addiction, but I don't want young people to think they have to smoke a joint to get out of their house in the morning. We need to get Pennsylvanians back at work. You got to give them their mojo, and I don't want marijuana to be a hindrance to that. I also don't want people operating heavy machinery and driving by me when they've been taking their fourth joint of the day.
It's kind of a weird thing to say because the unemployment rate in Pennsylvania is 4.9%, which is extremely good. So it's, I don't know where he's getting this. It just seems like he just decided this opinion when he was asked that question right there. Then we have John Fetterman, who is an extreme advocate for marijuana. He has been for a long time. He wrote an op-ed in Washington Post saying that we need to legalize weed and people need to get with the program. He even called Biden a coward by saying he would only decriminalize weed instead of actually legalizing. So there is a huge difference between these two people, and both of these viewpoints will probably be the future of Pennsylvania depending on who gets elected there. So it's a pretty important election for Pennsylvania and for marijuana enthusiasts in Pennsylvania. Like Dr. Oz, I mean, he's not going to strip away things. You can't really strip away things when you're a senator of a state, but the medical program there is not going to expand. The recreational marijuana is probably not going to happen because the governor is looking like it's going to be Republican as well. So there's a lot riding on this Senate election in Pennsylvania. And it's the one election that we can actually look at and be like, well, you know what? People might be excited about Fetterman to the point where we could get some Democrat positivity, where it's not looking like that's going to be the case anywhere else in the US. So let's just keep our eyes narrow-mindedly on Pennsylvania, and hopefully that will give us some marijuana news by the end of this year because of that. So we're gearing up for a nail biter there, and that's kind of the stories that we have this week. We'll be back next week with lots more, and I'll see you then.